I am so happy to be with this pretty little mama, aka Pretty Little Liar.
I see what you did there.
Tammin Sursock. She is
Hi.
2 awesome, sweet little girls. We're going to talk about everything today. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about mom guilt. Mm-hmm. We're just going to download.
We're just going to talk and be real and
you
authentic.
You guys have to follow her on her podcast. It's called
Women on Top.
On Top.
Or the bottom of the side, or whatever.
Or the bottom of the side. Check us out.
Check it.
So she's a mom of 2, and I love you have girls, which
we have girls.
We
yeah.
have a lot of
boys,
and one princess girl right in the middle. And we were just talking when we were sitting down
yeah.
how emotional girls are, and the difference
emotional.
between like a boy and a girl, you know, and that you have to literally parent them differently.
Did you always want 3 children?
Deep down, yes.
Okay.
Can I tell you why I never
should
thought
you
I
not
would?
have had 3 children?
No,
because I'm like, should I have 3 or is it
know,
too much? Like,
listen,
I feel like it might be
you
too
have
much.
a nice gap. I
Yeah.
will say. I think you have a 5. You're also super young.
No.
So 5 and 4, 5 months. Like that's. So your 5-year-old's going to go into kindergarten, which is an amazing,
like,
special
palm her
year.
off. Yeah. So we can just have one at home.
I would say do it. I
it.
would say like you might miss it, but you'll never regret it.
But will my marriage survive?
No, I don't know about that. I'm not sure. You will be
It's so hard.
scheduling sex.
No one. Exactly. I schedule it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when the nanny comes over. But then it's like super boring. It's like we both just sit there and we're like, now what? And we just like touch each other. But it's harder. Like the first year after having a baby, it's like you guys are just totally disconnected in so many ways, and women are going through so much, and they're breastfeeding and they're exhausted, and the men have their own sense of identity that changes as well.
It totally does.
And then you're just trying to connect.
But I also think the men have a problem finding, it's what you just said, their place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah. And also sexually too, like women feel different in their bodies, and when they're having sex with their husband, they don't like sometimes what they look like because it's so different.
I remember one time I was like, okay, let's
Turn the lights off, really dark.
We're not talking about a night light. We're talking about all dark.
I used to be like, let's turn the lights
I know.
on. Like, look at me, I'm 22. And now I'm like, no, just cover it all up.
I know. It's
just
definitely
like little cutouts.
I think it takes a year.
Takes a year.
Do you
But
guys
your
think it
body's
takes a year?
amazing.
But only after 3, and I totally changed like a whole thing 6 months ago. No, I'm being serious.
Like you look amazing. I kind of look like
you don't.
a stretched
I think
out.
you feel it.
No plastic bag, like naked. People are like, you look so good. I'm like, naked's a different story because it just all is. It fits differently.
I know.
And like my jeans sort of cut in, and then there's a bit flopping. Like I went to this like talk yesterday, and everyone was like all dressed up, and I'm like literally sitting there, and like this skin sack
The shelf.
is hanging over my pants, but it's not even. I'm like playing with it. It's disgusting. Like I'm just sitting there like playing, like, and I'm like, if someone saw me, because you just get so addicted to this like tire that you have around
and
your
it kind
stomach,
of wraps all the way around.
all the way around, and it just like hangs over.
And then also like you're trying, and like sometimes you just don't want to wear the Spanx, the double Spanx. You're like, it. Like I can't.
Yeah, I
it's
know.
not sexy.
It's not
I'm
sexy.
squeezing the life out of like my body.
And then if
like,
you do, on the off chance that month have sex and you're in Spanx and you're like, how sexy is this for him? Because it's not sexy for me. Because it comes now, when you get older, it comes higher up. It doesn't, like when you're younger, it starts here, and then after you have kids, it's like your Spanx are up here.
I know they really are.
My stomach's kind of screwed anyway.
No, don't say that.
It is up.
Did you see your natural?
I did 2 C's. But that's because they were 10.5 pounds, and I would have literally ripped from back to front. Like, it would have not been
Your
pretty.
babies were 10.5 pounds?
10.5 pounds, both of them. And I tried to push and push and push, and I'm actually grateful that C-sections exist, because I would have, talk about no sex ever again, like it would not have been pretty. But a vaginal birth is so much better for your body, and it's better for your hormones.
Well, it's also better for the baby in terms of like that squeeze. We had to have 3 C-sections because my first one had a velamentous cord situation happening, which basically means like the tree is like the just not really connected to the soil. It's like kind of.
It's a great analogy.
That's like
don't really understand it.
Like I'll try to say it to some people. I'm like, it's like the
Like it's
placenta connected to the body.
Got it.
And so from then on, I pretty much had to have C-sections. But you had big ass babies.
So my first was, it's her personality. She was 10 pounds, she was breech, and she had the cord wrapped around her neck. So it was like a trifecta, and they didn't even let me go into labor. The second time I tried for a VBAC, I was all kumbaya about it. I went like, I turned the baby. I was like, this is it. This is gonna be my moment. I paid $3,000 for a doula. I was like doing all the meditation. I was like, she will, and she did not descend. And I kept kumbayaing it and trying to get her down. And then I just, for some reason, woke up and I was like, I have to have a C-section. Like something just clicked.
It's weird. It's like that intuition, your gut.
And when I had the C-section, her face was pressed against my scar and I was a day away from a uterine rupture. She would have ended up in my abdomen and both of us wouldn't have survived if I had not gone in for the C-section and I'd gone into labor. So I feel so grateful and so blessed.
You had gone into labor?
No, I was trying to make my body kumbaya into labor. Which the kumbaya would have killed me. Like it would have not.
The kumbaya, exactly, would have killed her.
Would have killed me. And I was
But it's so interesting. Don't you think there's that intuition, that gut feeling, that mom, as much as there's mom guilt, there's that mom gut. And you just know.
I woke up and it's funny because I said, do you want a Capricorn baby? Because it's a C-section. Or do you want an Aquarius baby? And I was like, I need an air sign because I'm a fire sign. So I was like, I can't deal. Really? Can't tell I'm fire. And I was like, I can't deal with my husband because my husband is a Capricorn and he's so measured and he's so grounded and it's so boring sometimes. I'm like, can we just go to Paris tomorrow? He's like, I got to think about it for 2 years. So I was like, I'm not having a Capricorn baby. Like, I'm not. And then they were like, but it's Michelle Obama's birthday on the 17th of January. And I was like, having a Michelle Obama baby. Like,
yeah, you are.
I am having Michelle Obama
come
out of me. So she was born on the 17th of January on Michelle Obama's birthday, and she is the best baby. She sleeps 13 hours a night. She's like chill. Thank you, Michelle.
You were on Pretty Little Liars for a long time.
8 years, yeah.
8 years, which is a really long time. You were on the show during a time of not a lot of social media to the height of social media.
It was sort of the genesis of social media is when our show started, which was 8 years ago. And I remember not wanting a Twitter because I was like, oh, I'm an actor and I want to make sure that no one knows about my life. Now I'm like, look at my cool sculpting ass. Like I know. You know, it's totally changed.
It's totally different.
And you have to have social media now, I think, to...
Do you like it? This is the question I always get asked. So I'm going to ask you, do you like it?
I hate it.
Me too.
I love it when it affords me opportunities to do things like this and meet people and travel and, you know, I've met some of my closest friends through social media, which is so random. But then I also don't like giving up my anonymity and everyone knowing what my children look like. And then I also have this thing, mom guilt, like, do I put my children on social media when they don't have the voice yet to tell me if they want it or not? And then am I doing them a disservice or am I helping them?
I don't know. That's the exact questions I ask myself. My husband and I ask ourselves, like, you know, they're such a part of me, and so I love them, and I love what we do. I get to talk to you. I get to talk about mom and being a mom and being a friend and being an actress and just being, but it's hard. It's like, you know, but they are part of my world. And
but you're not sharing it, which we don't think. We're not sharing it with your aunts and uncles. You're sharing it with 300, 500, a million people that now know what your children are doing and where they are,
eating,
and where
wearing.
they're located. And it's a scary thought these days. So
I
don't know. So now I'm starting to this like half face side thing. So like there's my kid, but like you can't see her face. Like you can only see her like
there's
side
her
of her face. Like that's the back of her head. And it's so stupid because people know what she looks like, you know.
Mom guilt is a little bit, and I think I get it sometimes from social media, like, or someone, like, I remember carrying all of them in the Baby Bjorn, the pouch or the sling or however you want to name it, and just that I was doing it wrong.
Oh, and then the mom
too low,
shaming.
Too high.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you gave them formula. It's poison. Oh, you're not breastfeeding for 4 years. You know, that is something that it took me a long time to pleasantly ignore.
It's funny, the first child, you take all of that in. And you really absorb all of it. And I don't know, the second child comes out and you're like, peace out, bitches. Like, you're like, I don't care what you think about me with the second child. You're totally more comfortable being a mom. And it's like, if you don't like the fact that I couldn't breastfeed, I tried so hard and I couldn't,
Me too.
It's not your child. Like, I don't.
And the fact, I think, we talk about this sometimes, like with social media, it gives people a voice, and you're like, but I didn't ask that. It's
Right.
like they'll comment like negatively, like, let's stop the hate. Let's
Right.
let's take a step back and like, it goes back. If you can't say anything nice, don't say it. Just don't say it. Maybe think it. You can totally think it.
I think it all the time. I don't
Well,
say
you'll
it.
get these things on social media, and you're like, it comes from such, like, and you're like, wow, that's
Yeah.
so much hate. It's like,
I made up this quote, and I always say it when I see haters, and it's, unhappiness is the fastest pipeline to hate. And it's something that I wrote an article in Australia. I have a column in Australia. I'm Carrie Bradshaw in Australia. Anyway, and I was writing, and just it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, it's so true. When people aren't happy with themselves, they put out an energy of hate and aggression. But I totally believe that. I think that unhappiness is the fastest pipeline to hate.
especially having children. And as much as you don't think your children, listen, they start to listen.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
with my little girl, like, I am very careful not to talk about weight or diet or skinny. It's more healthy.
Right.
It's more, let's have energy, let's feed our bodies, let's grow. I mean, I'm not talking about cold sculpting, so I'm
Right.
even cautious with my own words, which when I wrote my second book, we were talking about a little bit about how you can, just with your verbiage, change how you feel, change
Oh,
the
yeah.
outlook. I get to pick them up from school. I have to pick them up from school.
I say that to my
I
husband
get
all the
to
time.
work with
You get to have sex
Tammin.
with me.
You
I say
get
that all the
to
time.
have sex with me. You get
When he fights
to
with me, I'm
come
like,
home with
you
me.
get to fight with me. There's a lot of people who would want to be doing this right now and engaging, and you have the privilege to fight with me. So
You're number one.
Yeah.
You're the gold medalist. But I really think that's so interesting in terms of like, just that has one thing that's really helped me. Okay. Sex.
favorite
This is
subject.
one of Tammin's favorite subjects. Me being from the
No one
South,
talks about sex, and I feel like we need to start talking about sex. And why are we so worried about naked body parts, but yet we see people's heads chopped off all
I
the
know.
time?
With guns.
Like, it's like, oh, look, we just had a mass shooting. Here's a dead person. Oh my God, it's her nipple. It's like, what are we, it's a nipple. It's to feed a baby. Like, and you think of your boobs very differently after you've had
You do.
children, because you're like, this is sustaining life. This is not
And you
like,
turned my nipples into
oh yeah, and
a
my nipples are like
pacifier.
down now. Like, well, one's like up and one's down. This one she sucked on, this one she didn't. So I have one big boob and one small boob, and it really does look awkward.
Why do you think women have such a problem talking about sex?
I think women have a problem allowing themselves to enjoy sex. All my friends are like, oh, I don't know what I like from my husband. I'm like, well, do you know what you like from yourself? And they're like, oh, no, I can't do that. And I think it's an American thing. I'm Australian, and like, women are naked all the time, and we talk about it, and women talk about pleasure, and
Right.
and it's like, men talk about pleasure all the time.
I know.
But it's like women aren't allowed to
But I
feel.
also think some women don't know how they feel, how they want it.
Yeah, but they need to figure that out before they can tell a guy what they don't
I
want.
know.
Or they're not going to have a good sex life. And sex lives, I think, you have to work on them, especially in marriage.
Especially in marriage.
But they're important.
They are.
And they're
I love
important
my
for,
husband. I
they're
love getting sex
important-
with my
yeah,
husband.
They're important for connection, too. And when I don't have sex with my husband, I hate him. Like, literally, like, F you, get out of the house. Like, I don't
does
even
cut
like
the
your, I don't even
tension.
like your face.
I
Like, if
know.
I don't have sex with you. Like,
Well, like,
why are
like
you
Scarlett,
here?
Scarlett will sneak in the bed, and we will.
Yeah.
She will go back in the bed. She will come back in.
Yeah.
You'll never know she was gone for like 40 minutes. She was gone. She disappeared. She came right back. I know, but you have to. I mean,
You're having
if
sex
not,
for 40 minutes?
no.
Okay,
It
because
was-
like mine's like 3 minutes, or that's a lie. It's like 1.5 minutes. It's like really fast, and I'm cool with that. It's like
Not 40 minutes. I just been
Start
like
and done.
this.
Like it's fine, but like
Start
40
to
minutes.
finish,
40
like-
minutes sex is amazing.
I'm having
Your
40
husband
minute
is
sex.
amazing. Like he is a stud. Mine's a 1.5 minute, experience.
I'm just saying from start to finish.
And that's like
getting
from the
it.
beginning. You still have clothes on a minute before. It's like takes a
like
whole
30
minute.
seconds.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
I know.
I don't need snuggle. Like we got shit to do.
I like to snuggle.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want to snuggle. I'm
Really?
like, you were just like so close to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're like as close as you could possibly be near me. Like you need to move.
Okay.
He wants to snuggle and
Okay,
talk about
I like
it. I'm
a
like, I don't want to
snuggle.
talk about it. We just did it. I don't
I
want to talk about it.
I like the spoon. I like a snuggle.
I don't want. I'm a man. I'm like, done.
I like a
1.5
snuggle.
minutes. We're done.
Okay, question. What advice would you give women dating?
Don't play games. I see my friends and they play games so much. Like my friend even had a guy who wanted to come over and then she was like, oh no, don't worry about it. And it's because we feel vulnerable. And when we feel vulnerable, we shut down. And vulnerable is so important. Like you have to, don't be like a weirdo. Like, I like you so much. It's like the first day. It's like, no wonder they're like running away. But just be like,
But be
I like
normal.
you.
I always
Just be
say it to
normal.
my girlfriends, I'm like, they either like you or they don't. Ultimately, they like you. It's either going to work or it's not. Yes, we had a little game playing. Of course, it's like witty. I love, like Scott was really, he still is really witty and fast
Yeah,
and
he's
funny.
witty 40 minutes. Like, he's like, he must be, he's very witty. he's keeping you going. 3 kids, 40 minutes. He's wit, he's charm, like.
No, we end up talking.
I need to give my husband some tips. It's 1.5 minutes not gonna fly.
I love that. I know. Don't play games. Be
Don't play
yourself.
Yeah.
I just think.
But we play
sometimes
games in
overthink
marriage
it.
too.
We do.
All the time. And my husband says I manipulate. I don't know why you would think that about me. But I say things because I feel hurt. So I will say to him,
I will
like,
too.
I'll say like, oh, go sleep on the couch. Then he'll go sleep on the couch.
I'm
And I'll be
like, I
like,
don't
you fucking slept on the couch, you asshole. And he's like, you just told me to sleep on the couch. I was like, I wanted you to be like, I don't want to sleep on the couch. I want to sleep with you.
Exactly.
But he's like, then just say that. And I'm like,
I'm not saying
no, I'm
that.
not going to say that. Then I have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, no. Okay, work-life balance.
Yes.
It's hard, right?
Women can have it all, but they cannot have it all at the same time.
No, I agree.
That is
Can
my...
you repeat that and go slower?
Women can have it all, but they cannot have it all at the same time.
I agree, 100%.
And I totally, especially with children and work, and I want to create an empire. That's just who I am. Like, I want to work to the bone, but I also want to be present for my children.
I know.
And I don't want my children to be raised by nannies.
No.
So for me, it's kind of like my husband and I created a show that we just sold to BBC. And it looks like they're gonna do a 2nd season.
Yay.
And I'm just gonna take my fucking
one.
kids with me. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
are.
Like, I'm gonna like shoot, because we directed it as well. I'm gonna direct while I'm breastfeeding. With all my other kids here. And like tell everyone to do and act at the same time.
And
Like,
you're going to have worksheets for your kindergartner.
and then I'll have help for things that I don't want to do, like the cleaning and stuff like that, so I can be more present for my family.
I love what you said because I do think, it's such a hot topic and I get asked all the time, well, how do you do it?
Yeah.
And sometimes I do it really well and sometimes I do it really badly. And sometimes I suck at being a mom and sometimes I suck at work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just suck all around.
And then
you know
there's
what I
days
mean?
that you're amazing at everything.
And then I'm like-
it happens like for me once like every 3 months is like the best day. I liked it, was the best mom, was the best wife.
I know.
1.5 minutes for him.
Something always falls. Like, I
Yeah.
feel bad for Stuber sometimes because sometimes he's left with the 3 kids. Like, we have my in-laws, the 3 kids. The 2-year-old just got a voice and lungs, and he just, is now...
Like, my dream day would be take my kids to school, work all day, like, direct, act, whatever, pick my kids up, be with them, have sex for 1.5 minutes, then go see my parents, have some wine, go to bed. Like, that would be my
I
perfect
know.
day.
Where do you see yourself 3 years, 5 years?
Oh, God.
Another kid, check.
I just worry. My husband and I are really fighting for our careers right now. Like,
He's he's a great director, though.
well, he's got 3 projects that he's directing. He's an incredible writer. He's got a big, huge project that's kind of going to change our lives. So he needs to work, and I want to work too and have a career, and I just don't know if bringing another child in is going to affect our
But you have
balance.
time.
But I don't really.
You do.
But I don't really.
But you do.
I feel like you're like someone who like just.
I popped this shit
happens
out in
out.
3 in
I had so many miscarriages
5
after
years.
after my first baby. I had 3 back-to-back miscarriages.
Really?
Oh yeah, like one after. So I was pregnant for a whole year, and then
And that's hard.
my first one I actually birthed at home, like with an umbilical cord and everything, and then had to freeze. It's funny now that I think about it, but had to freeze it, like had to take it and put it
No,
in the
you did
freezer.
not.
Yeah, because they wanted to test to see what was happening.
I had a bad miscarriage right before Gray,
Yeah.
and it was...
It messes with you, and
Messes
I've
with you.
never had depression, But I look back at that time and I think I had depression.
Well, sometimes when you're so in it, you don't know, and then
Yeah.
it's like, what is happening, and how did this happen, and why is this happening, and I'm freezing a baby, like what, like it's almost like an outer body, like when
Yeah.
you're going through it, and so
Ugh.
when you look back, you're like, I might have been just a tad depressed.
Yeah, blah. We're going away because we have a writing deadline after this, so we're like writing a screenplay together, which we always kill each other over. But this time we're gonna try not to, and then try to have sex for 5 minutes tonight. Do you know what I mean? And I will text you, and I'll be like, "We made it to 4.5. Just." It's not because like I can't hold out or anything. It's just like at some point I'm like, "Ugh, it's just a lot.
You could cuddle.
I'm
you could put a
tired.
child
Like it's a hot body
in
on
another
me.
room.
I'm sweating.
I know. The sweating is like,
Yeah. I'm just like, you just go from here. I'm gonna just go like this.
you're awesome. You were amazing.
Bye, guys.
Bye.